Possessing more power than anyone on the planet and unable to understand the language, Supergirl has a challenge ahead of her. Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where we take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then we read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Don't forget to support this industry by using our recaps to pick out the comics that you want to read. You can purchase them online or at your local comic book store. This is half of Supergirl Volume 1, Issues 1 through 4. We begin with another meteor storm in Kansas, with shards of something crashing into the ground over and over and someone reporting on the planet fall. But one piece from this crash hits the ground so hard that it breaks through and continues to bury itself. It keeps burying itself into the ground deeper and deeper until it goes through the mantle of the earth and it comes up in Siberia. In the dead of the night with snow falling everywhere, a hand reaches out of the wreckage and a young blonde girl pulls herself out of the ground. She stands there tall, wearing the shield of her family, the House of L, with no idea where she is or what's going on. Realizing that it's snowing, she wonders why she isn't freezing. And that's when somebody puts their headlights on her. In front of her are giant metal creatures, speaking in clicks and beeps. Oh, Father would love this dream, she thinks to herself. They then try to say something to her, but she can't understand them, and they launch cables around her, wrapping them around her arms. That's when she realizes this isn't a dream, and these things aren't very friendly. She struggles with the cables for a second when the sun rises in the distance. She looks at it and she realizes something is wrong with this sun. This isn't Krypton. Where is she? Anger burns up inside of her and she begins to fire heat vision from her eyes, cutting through these metal monsters. What's happening? She begins to think to herself. I was just on my way home with my friends, on my way home when I can't remember. One of the metal beasts jumps on her, punching her into the ground. So she does what her father used to tell her. If you get knocked down, you get back up. And she hits the metal monster so hard that he takes off for miles. She looks down at her hands. How did I? What's happening to me? But an explosion behind her throws her to the ground. Surprised that she survives, she gets up and she tries to make a run for it. But suddenly she's brought to her knees by all of the sounds. All of the sounds around her. Where are they coming from? She throws her head back and she screams out in pain. The robot people begin talking in this foreign language until one of them tackles her and tries to hold her still. So she tears its arm off and she begins to beat him with it. And then with a full speed punch, she knocks him back. She then jumps on its chest and she begins tearing its head off, revealing someone that looks just like her. Where am I? She screams at him. But he starts talking gibberish to her with a terrified look in his eyes. Please, tell me where I am, she asks. But things just got decidedly more interesting as somebody removes the threat of all of the metal monsters instantly. And then he hovers over her wearing the family crest of L. Who are you? He asks in broken Kryptonian. Who am I? Who are you? And why are you wearing my family's crest? She asks. Calm down, I can hear the blood rushing to your head. I'm Kara Zor-El from Argo City on Krypton. Did you say Kara? Daughter of Zor-El? Yes, do you know where they are? I'm Kal-El, son of Jor-El. And if you really are Kara Zor-El, then I'm your cousin. Liar, she shouts, knocking him across the jaw and through multiple trees nearby. Ow, Superman says, holding his jaw. Kara then grabs him by the cape and begins to fling him around and into various trees. Kal-El was a baby 3 days ago. The men who arrived in the metal suits look at the super beings fighting and they decide that they're going to get her ship and bring it back. The girl will have to wait. Kara throws Superman into the ground and begins to punch him over and over, telling him that he can't be her cousin. He can't! When suddenly, she could see through her own hands. She pulls back, screaming, "Stop!" It's just X-ray vision. It's one of the many changes Kryptonians go through on Earth from the yellow sun, Superman says, getting up. She then lets out a flat-out scream and grabs Superman by the chest. But he's had enough of being her punching bag and he throws her into the sky. Panicked, she has no idea what's about to happen as she goes higher and higher into the clouds. But suddenly she stops panicking as she realizes she isn't falling to her death. She's floating. No, she's flying. But as soon as she realizes that, she begins to fall. Superman catches her and he tells her that they need to talk. But she kicks him off of her and into the clouds. Oh, smart Kara, she thinks to herself. Now he's hiding in the clouds. How do I get this X-ray vision thing to work? And Superman comes from behind her, grabbing her. She spins around, gouges his eyes out, and then takes off for the nearest location that she can see. It's a long, ruined-looking wall thing, and she's stopped by Superman getting in front of her, and he throws her back to the ground. I want to help you, Kara, but the more you fight me, the less I believe you are who you say you are, he says as he goes to the ground to help her back up. But as she gets to her feet, she tells him, yes, but the thing is, I don't want your help! And she punches him through multiple layers of the Great Wall of China. She slowly steps forward, ready to fight him again. But then she looks around and she sees the civilians. She realizes that she's ruining someone's home. People live here. Superman comes back. I will not fight you anymore. Not here, not around innocents. I didn't know! I'm sorry, she says. Just come with me and I'll give you the answers you need, Kara. So they finally stop fighting and they take off to a safe place for Superman to explain what's going on. He tells her everything. That on this planet, Kryptonians have the power of what the Kryptonians knew as world killers. And that they can't go home because Krypton is gone. The world was destroyed by a cataclysmic event that took all of her friends, her family, and her life away. He didn't even know that she survived, and he doesn't understand what happened, why she's here. Someone must have put her into that hibernation pod, and she must have gotten off course, which is why she's only now arriving so much later than him. That's when Superman hears some people in trouble, and he asks her to come with him. But she needs to sort this out, so she takes off to the only place that she can think of, the place that her ship brought her to. As she flies away, Superman tells her that she will only be safe with him. She has new powers that she doesn't know how to control. She'll hurt people, or she'll hurt herself. She isn't prepared for this world. But her problems are only beginning. Various people would love to have the power of a Kryptonian at their disposal, and as Kara flies to her ship, she finds it gone. And a hologram person still speaking in this foreign language that she doesn't understand, telling her, follow him, he has her ship. She rockets into space, following this little orb that shows her where her ship is supposedly at. And as she enters space, she realizes that she can fly in space and hold her breath for a very long time. The man is Simon Tycho, and he's trying to develop weapons for various governments, and he sees her as his miracle in knee-high boots. She lands in his docking bay and is immediately attacked by his butterflies, creatures that tag her with heat-based weaponry. But as her internal temperature begins to rise to dangerous levels, they call off the butterflies, and they send in his secret weapon, the Brain, a humanoid gelatinous goo that has a brain in it. She tries to throw a punch at it, but it lands on the bizarre surface of this creature, and she throws another one, finding both her hands stuck in this thing. It then throws its goop over her head, so she launches herself back into space by going through one of the walls, and the vacuum of space kills the weird creature, and then from space, she uses this new X-ray vision to find her ship. Then, punching her way there, she begins to tear the ship apart, piece by piece, until she gets there and finds her ship finally. As she reaches out for it, she feels an immense amount of pain, and green veiny things begin to appear all over her body and her hands. She falls to the ground sick as Simon walks over smirking. I have your best interests at heart. They put her into suspended animation right next to her ship, and they take her uniform off so that they can test it and stretch it out, discovering that it's indestructible. This isn't the end of Kara's tale though, because one of the soldiers that she spared from the beginning decides he didn't sign up to capture teenage girls, and he walks in and turns off her suspended animation. He then begins to walk her out of the space station, only for the both of them to be confronted by Simon and all of his guards. They shoot the man that saved her, and then they try to hit her with their guns before she can fully recover. But it didn't take long for her to recover, and she breaks one of the guards' arms. Then, at lightning speed, she rockets through the ships, knocking everyone over. She finds her uniform and puts it back on, and then she tears through the ship looking for Simon. He has an artifact from her ship, and she wants it back. As she discovers where his location is, he stands in front of her holding the crystal, knowing that she wouldn't dare risk damaging it. So she blasts her heat vision through the ground and into the ship's core. The whole ship begins to go critical, and as Simon begins to think of how expensive this will be to fix, she takes the crystal and she leaves the ship with everyone on it. From a distance, she realizes how much damage she actually did, and it wasn't intended, but it looks like everyone is managing to get off the ship through the escape pods. Everyone except for Simon. He tried to save the space station, and it blew up in his face. But we see that Simon isn't entirely dead. No, he's using the substance that the brain was made out of to survive. He isn't done with Supergirl yet. But he'll need to wait, because Supergirl is gonna try to fly all the way to Krypton to see if Kal was right. Krypton can't be destroyed, can it? And that is half of Volume 1 for Supergirl. Now, I ended it there because honestly, I felt like this was a good leaving off point before she goes back to Krypton. But if you do want to find out what happened, check out Volume 1 or just wait for us to get around to doing the next piece of this. I'm a huge fan of Supergirl and I loved the New 52 arc. Well, most of it. So make sure you check it out yourself. I'm Benny the Comicstorian, and if you enjoyed this story, make sure you check out the other videos on the screen right now. You just might like those too.